A woman who carries her pain in silence wears a veil the world cannot see. Beneath it, she is a storm, but her surface remains a tranquil sea. Her quiet endurance is often misunderstood, mistaken for indifference or weakness. Yet her silence is neither absence nor emptiness, it is a profound act of resilience. In the stillness of her being, she holds a strength that defies the chaos within, inviting us to look deeper and ask, what does it mean to endure without revealing? A woman who carries her pain in silence wears a veil the world cannot see. Beneath it lies a universe of emotions, storms of sorrow, waves of doubt, and the quiet ache of endurance. Yet to the outside world she seems composed, calm, and unwavering. This contrast between her internal turmoil and outward composure is not a deception, but a delicate balance she maintains, one that speaks to a strength few can fully comprehend. Her silence is not emptiness, it is a profound choice, one that shields her and perhaps others from the overwhelming tide of her reality. Silence has its own language, one that speaks louder than words when we are willing to listen. For her, this silence is not born of a lack of feeling, but of an excess of it. To articulate her pain might feel like giving it too much life, too much power, and so she carries it inward, where it cannot be easily touched or diminished by misunderstanding. In this act there is a profound resilience, a refusal to let pain define her, even as it shapes her world. The veil she wears is a paradox. It conceals, yet it reveals. To those who look closely, her silence is not the absence of a story, but the presence of a deep and unspoken truth. It is in her eyes, her movements, the subtle shifts of her demeanor. Each moment of stillness speaks of battles fought and endured in the privacy of her own soul. To carry such weight without complaint is not weakness, but a kind of quiet defiance, a refusal to let the storm rage outward and consume everything in its path. Her silence is both her shield and her burden. It protects her from vulnerability, from the risk of exposing wounds that might not be tended with care. But it also isolates her, creating a distance that few dare to cross. How many people see the veil and assume it is all there is? How many fail to recognize the strength it takes to carry pain silently, to resist the urge to scream when the world feels unbearable? Yet there is a beauty in this silence, a kind of artistry in the way she endures. It is not a denial of her pain, but a testament to her capacity to hold it without allowing it to consume her. Her silence is not a void, it is a vessel, a container for all that she feels but cannot express. It is a sanctuary, a place where she can confront her struggles without the noise of judgment or pity. And so the woman who carries her pain in silence invites us to see beyond the veil, to recognize the profound strength in her quiet resilience. Her silence is not an absence of communication, but an invitation to understand on a deeper level, to listen not with our ears, but with our hearts. In her silence she teaches us that pain need not always be spoken to be real, and strength need not always be loud to be true. Strength is often misunderstood, particularly when it comes in quiet forms. In a world that celebrates loud victories and visible triumphs, the strength of a woman who carries her pain in silence can go unnoticed, or worse, be misinterpreted. To many, her silence might appear as indifference, an unwillingness to share, or even weakness. Yet it is none of these things. Her quiet endurance is a strength of a different kind, one that doesn't seek validation, recognition, or applause. It is the kind of strength that holds steady not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Carrying pain silently is an act of profound inner resolve. It requires a capacity to hold emotions that could overwhelm, to resist the impulse to cry out for relief, and to maintain composure even when her soul feels like it is unraveling. This strength is not performative, it is not put on display to prove anything to the world. It is a quiet rebellion against the chaos that threatens to consume her. In enduring silently, she demonstrates mastery over her suffering. She does not deny her pain, but neither does she let it define her outward existence. This kind of strength often goes unrecognized because it does not conform to the conventional image of what strength is supposed to look like. Strength is expected to be bold, assertive, and outwardly visible, a triumphant overcoming of adversity. But for her, strength is found in the moments no one sees, the nights when she faces her fears alone, the mornings when she rises despite the heaviness in her heart, and the countless decisions to keep moving forward, even when the path feels insurmountable. Her silence is not emptiness. It is a reservoir of resilience, a place where she processes her struggles in her own way and in her own time. Speaking about her pain might feel like opening a floodgate, unleashing a torrent she is not ready to confront publicly. Silence, for her, becomes a sanctuary, a space where she can hold her pain without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. In this, her strength lies not in the absence of feeling, but in the incredible ability to contain it, to navigate it without losing herself entirely. The misunderstanding of her strength often stems from our discomfort with silence and stillness. In a world that values expression and action, quiet endurance is easily overlooked. But if we take a moment to truly observe, her strength becomes undeniable. It is in the way she carries herself, in the way she continues to show up despite the weight she bears. It is in her steady presence, her ability to offer kindness and love to others, even when she is struggling herself. Her strength challenges us to expand our understanding of what it means to be strong. It asks us to look beyond the surface, to recognize that true resilience is not always loud or visible. It can be found in the quiet determination of a woman who carries her pain in silence, defying the odds and proving that strength is as much about endurance as it is about action. The weight of invisible burdens is a unique kind of heaviness, one that cannot be measured or easily seen, but is felt deeply by the one who carries it. For a woman who holds her pain in silence, this weight is ever present, shaping her world in ways that others may never fully understand. She moves through life with a calm exterior, but beneath the surface she bears the unseen struggles that test her resolve daily. It is a quiet labor, a constant negotiation between the demands of the outside world and the storms that rage within. So, invisible burdens are unique in that they lack physical form. They do not announce themselves, nor do they invite the sympathy or acknowledgement that visible struggles often evoke. This invisibility can make them harder to bear, as the world does not pause to make room for what it cannot see. And yet they are no less real. These burdens can take the shape of unspoken grief, unresolved trauma, unexpressed fears, or the persistent weight of expectations. They exist in the shadows, influencing every decision, every moment, even when no one else is aware of their presence. Carrying such burdens requires an extraordinary strength, one that is often misunderstood or overlooked. To the outside observer, she may seem unbothered or even aloof, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Her silence is not an absence of emotion, but a choice to hold her struggles privately. She understands that sharing her pain might not lessen it, but instead invite judgment, pity, or misunderstanding. And so she bears it alone, not out of pride, but out of a deeply ingrained sense of resilience. The weight she carries often feels heavier because it lacks a release valve. When pain is held inside, it tends to expand, filling every corner of her inner world. It becomes part of her daily existence, a silent companion that walks with her through her routines. Even moments of joy and connection are tinged by the presence of this invisible weight, as it lingers in the background, never fully gone. Despite this, she finds ways to move forward, to continue giving to the world even as it takes so much from her. There is a quiet heroism in this kind of endurance. To carry invisible burdens is to navigate a path that no one else can see, to keep going even when it feels like the ground might give way beneath her. It is a solitary journey, but one that speaks to an incredible depth of character. Her ability to persist, to find meaning and purpose in spite of her struggles, is a testament to her resilience. For those who take the time to look beyond the surface, her strength becomes evident. It is found in the small acts of kindness she offers, in the way she listens to others even when her own heart is heavy, and in her unwavering presence. The weight of her invisible burdens is great, but so too is the power of her silent perseverance. She reminds us that not all battles are visible, and not all strength is loud. Silence is never truly silent. It holds within it echoes of the unspoken, a resonance that lingers in the spaces where words could not or would not form. For a woman who carries her pain in silence, this quiet is far from empty, it is alive with meaning, layered with the weight of emotions she cannot bring herself to say aloud. Her silence is not a void, but a landscape, textured and rich, where every gesture, every glance, and every moment carries a depth that words might never capture. These echoes in the quiet are a language of their own, one that requires careful listening to understand. In her silence there are stories. Stories of resilience, of loss, of fear, and of love, each one etched into the fabric of her being. They speak through her eyes, which hold a depth that defies explanation. They speak through the way she moves, the way she chooses her moments of engagement with the world. If you listen, truly listen, you can hear the echoes of everything she feels but does not say. The quiet she keeps is not a denial of her pain, but a way of holding it safely. Words can be fragile and sometimes insufficient, breaking under the weight of complex emotions. To speak her pain aloud might feel like scattering it to the winds, exposing it to misinterpretation or diminishing its significance. Silence for her is a sanctuary. It allows her to process, to endure, to heal in her own time. Yet even within that silence, her pain reverberates, finding ways to make itself known in subtle but profound ways. Her silence is also an offering. In choosing not to speak of her struggles, she spares others from the burden of her pain. This act of withholding is not selfish but deeply considerate, a way of protecting those she loves from the storm she carries within. It is a quiet sacrifice, one that often goes unnoticed but speaks to the depth of her character. Her echoes, then, are not cries for help, but gentle reminders of her humanity, a reminder that even in silence she is feeling, thinking, and enduring. For those who are close to her, understanding the echoes in her quiet requires patience and attentiveness. It means learning to see beyond the surface, to notice the subtle shifts in her demeanor, the moments when her silence feels heavier than usual. It means recognizing that her quiet is not an absence of communication, but a different form of it, one that asks for understanding without demanding it outright. In her quiet, there is a power that few take the time to acknowledge. It is a power rooted in restraint, in the choice to endure without complaint, to speak without words. Her echoes challenge us to reconsider the nature of silence, to see it not as a lack but as a fullness of space where meaning resides, waiting to be felt rather than heard. She teaches us that in the quietest moments, the deepest truths often reveal themselves. Pain is often seen as an adversary, something to avoid, suppress, or conquer. But for a woman who carries her pain in silence, it becomes a mirror reflecting truths about herself and the world around her. This mirror does not flatter, it does not distort to comfort. Instead, it reveals with stark honesty what lies beneath the surface. In her pain, she sees her vulnerabilities, her strength, and the intricate web of connections that define her existence. It is a teacher, though its lessons are often harsh and unwelcome. The silent pain she carries reflects her resilience. Each moment of suffering endured without outward expression is a testament to her inner strength. It mirrors her ability to hold steady under pressures that might break another. But this reflection is not always empowering. Pain also magnifies her fears, her doubts, and the parts of herself she struggles to confront. It is an unyielding presence, showing her both the heights she can reach and the depths she must navigate. This duality is what makes pain such a powerful mirror. It shows not only who she is, but who she has the potential to become. Her pain does not exist in isolation, it reflects the world around her as well. It holds up a mirror to the relationships in her life, exposing the gaps in understanding, the moments of unspoken connection, or the absence of it. The silence with which she carries her pain often challenges those around her to look inward. Do they fail to notice because they are preoccupied with their own struggles, or do they avoid seeing her pain because it reminds them of their own? In this way, her silent endurance becomes a mirror, not just for herself, but for those who care for her, forcing them to confront the ways they engage with vulnerability, empathy, and support. Pain as a mirror also reflects the narrative she tells herself. In her silence, she may wrestle with feelings of inadequacy, guilt, or isolation. It magnifies her inner dialogue, making her confront the story she believes about who she is and what she deserves. But just as it can amplify her self-doubt, pain also reflects her capacity for growth. By looking into this mirror with courage, she begins to see the ways her suffering can shape her not as a source of defeat, but as a catalyst for transformation. Through her silent pain, she teaches an important lesson that pain is not just something to be endured, but something to be learned from. It is a mirror that forces clarity, even when clarity is painful. It reveals hidden depths and unspoken truths, challenging her to grow in ways she never anticipated. For those willing to meet its reflection, pain becomes a profound force for self-discovery and change. Her ability to carry this mirror quietly, to face its reflections without letting them overwhelm her, is a testament to her strength. It reminds us that pain, though difficult, can be one of life's greatest teachers, showing us not only who we are, but who we have the power to become. Unspoken prayers are the whispers of the heart, the silent pleas sent out into the universe when words feel too fragile to hold the weight of hope. For a woman who carries her pain in silence, these prayers become her constant companions, woven into the fabric of her existence. They are not spoken aloud, for they are not meant for others to hear. Instead, they rise from the deepest parts of her being, carried on the quiet breaths she takes as she navigates the challenges of her life. Her unspoken prayers are not only for relief from her pain, but for understanding for herself and from the world around her. They are prayers for strength to endure, for clarity to find meaning in her struggles, and for the courage to keep moving forward when everything feels uncertain. Each prayer is a reflection of her humanity, her vulnerability, and her quiet resilience. These are not prayers of resignation, but of quiet determination, rooted in a profound belief that there is something greater at work, even if it cannot be seen or named. In her silence, her prayers become her connection to the intangible. They are a conversation with the unseen forces that guide her life, a way of expressing what words cannot. She may not kneel or fold her hands in the traditional sense, but her every moment of endurance, her every act of kindness, despite her own struggles, is a prayer in itself. These prayers are not bound by doctrine or ritual, they are raw, authentic expressions of her innermost self, carried by the quiet rhythm of her days. Her unspoken prayers are often misunderstood by the world around her. To others, her silence might seem like a lack of faith or hope, but in reality it is the opposite. Her silence is a sacred space, a refuge where she can place her trust in something greater than herself without the need for validation or explanation. She does not need to articulate her prayers for them to be heard. They exist in the way she continues to rise each day, in the way she offers compassion to others even when her own heart is heavy. These prayers, though unspoken, hold immense power. They are a testament to her strength, her hope, and her belief that even in the darkest moments, light can be found. They remind us that prayer is not always about words, but about intention, about the energy we send out into the world when we are at our most vulnerable. Her unspoken prayers are a quiet act of rebellion against despair, a refusal to give in to the weight of her struggles. Through her silent prayers, she teaches us that there is grace in seeking without shouting, in hoping without demanding, and in believing without needing proof. Her prayers are a reminder that the deepest connections we make to ourselves, to others, and to the universe are often formed in the quietest moments, when our hearts speak in whispers only the soul can hear. Silence is often misunderstood as a lack of action, but for a woman who carries her pain quietly, it becomes a silent revolution. Her choice not to voice her struggles does not mean she has surrendered to them. Instead, it is a deliberate act of defiance against the forces that seek to diminish her. In her silence, she rebels against the expectation to explain, justify, or perform her pain for others. Her stillness is not a sign of defeat, it is a powerful assertion of control over her narrative. This silent revolution takes place entirely within, a battleground invisible to the outside world. Every moment she chooses to endure without complaint, she reclaims her strength. Her silence is not passive, it is active, deliberate, and profoundly courageous. She faces her pain head-on, not by amplifying it for others to hear, but by holding it, shaping it, and ultimately transforming it into something she can carry. This is her revolution, the refusal to let pain define her outwardly, while she reshapes it inwardly. The quiet rebellion of her silence challenges societal norms that demand visibility as proof of struggle. In a world that often equates being heard with being understood, her choice to remain silent is radical. She rejects the pressure to validate her experiences through words, knowing that the truth of her journey exists regardless of whether it is seen or acknowledged by others. Her silence is a reminder that some battles are too sacred, too personal, to be put on display. Her revolution is not about denying her pain, but about finding strength within it. It is about rising each day with quiet resolve, moving forward even when the weight of her struggles feels unbearable. She does not need applause or recognition to affirm her strength. It exists in the simple act of continuing, of surviving. In this way, her silence becomes her armor, her way of protecting herself from a world that might not understand or respect the depth of her pain. But her silent revolution is not isolated. It ripples outward, influencing those around her in subtle but profound ways. Her quiet endurance inspires others to confront their own struggles with courage and dignity. It challenges them to reconsider what it means to be strong, to see that resilience does not always roar, it sometimes whispers. Through her example, she teaches that there is power in stillness, grace in perseverance, and beauty in the unseen battles we fight. Her silence is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It is a revolution against despair, against the chaos that threatens to consume her. It is a declaration that even in the face of pain, she retains her agency, her dignity, and her power to shape her own story. This silent revolution is not about grand gestures or loud victories. It is about the quiet, unyielding determination to rise above her struggles on her own terms. And in this she finds her greatest strength. Vulnerability and power are often seen as opposites, but for a woman who carries her pain in silence, they exist in an intricate dance. This balance is delicate, a constant interplay where one gives way to the other, creating a rhythm that shapes her existence. Her vulnerability, though deeply personal, becomes a source of strength, and her power, though quiet and unseen, emerges from her willingness to embrace the rawness of her emotions. This dance is not linear but fluid, shifting with every moment, every challenge, and every choice she makes. Her vulnerability is not a weakness, it is an opening. It is the space where she confronts her pain, acknowledges it, and allows it to shape her without consuming her. To be vulnerable is to be honest, to face the truth of her struggles without hiding or denying them. It takes immense courage to sit with her pain in silence, to resist the urge to numb it or push it away. In this openness, she discovers her capacity to endure. Her vulnerability becomes a quiet act of rebellion against the fear that seeks to paralyze her, proving that she can hold her pain without being defined by it. From this vulnerability arises her power. It is not the loud, forceful power often celebrated in the world, but a softer, more enduring strength. It is the power to keep moving forward, despite the weight she carries, the power to choose compassion and kindness, even when her own heart is heavy. Her silence, far from being passive, is an assertion of this power. It is a way of holding on to her autonomy, of claiming her right to process her pain in her own way and in her own time. This dance between vulnerability and power is a constant negotiation. There are moments when her pain feels overwhelming, when her vulnerability threatens to overtake her. But in these moments she draws on her inner strength, finding the resolve to hold steady until the storm passes. Likewise, there are times when her strength feels unshakable, but she remains grounded by her vulnerability, by the reminder that she is human and that it is okay to feel deeply. This balance keeps her moving, keeps her growing as she learns to navigate the shifting tides of her emotions. Her dance inspires those around her, often without their realizing it. She shows that vulnerability is not something to be feared or hidden, but something to be embraced as a source of connection and authenticity. Her quiet strength challenges the idea that power must always be loud and visible, reminding us that true strength often lies in the ability to hold space for our emotions without being consumed by them. In this dance of vulnerability and power, she creates a harmony that is uniquely her own. It is a testament to her resilience, her courage, and her ability to find beauty in the complexities of her experience. Through this dance, she teaches us that vulnerability and power are not opposites but partners, each enhancing the other in an intricate and life-affirming rhythm.